So I'm with Sam, CricFit Sam, following on Instagram, um, in collaboration with CricFit and Sam, who knows his stuff. As you all know,
Hello, everybody.
working with a bloody good SLC coach as a bowling coach is really important. So today's bit of a Q&A. Is it in conjunction with Move Academy? It's not really, is it?
No.
It's just me and you.
Yeah.
To those of you that are here with us now, why aren't you working or at school? That's the first thing to say, but yeah, we're just going to crack on.
Cool. Right. I'm going to fumble over this intro a few times. And I think how we'll do it as well is if there is anything that we need to cut out, we can. But basically just be nice and natural. We'll go through as much as possible. Right. I need to remember I'm speaking to that camera. I'll breathe down. Hello and welcome back to the CricFit podcast on YouTube, where we break down the science behind what goes into making cricketers better. You'll all know from social media, highly expert in fast bowling, lots of experience, and also what I think we're very aligned on is breaking down the art of fast bowling simply for people to understand on socials. So we're going to look through bowling technique today. I'm going to fire away 5 to 10 questions for Stuart. We're probably going to go off on tangents, knowing how we kind of communicate. And then we're also then going to head off to cricket nets after this as well, where we're going to look at more kind of technical parts. So we're going to break this down into 2 different parts. Sit down, chat, and then kind of more actionable, practical part after. Before I pass over to Barnesy, if you are new here to the channel, this is a little bit different to what we normally do. But if you're interested in cricket fitness and how fitness and S&C can help you to improve your game, hit subscribe and come along for the journey. So, Stuart, if anyone who doesn't know you, do you want to introduce yourself? And let them know your background.
I am from the West Country, 55 years old. I was a professional cricketer for 2 years. The opportunity came too early for me because I wasn't ready, like maturity wise, but I was highly talented. But and then 3 years after that, I started becoming a qualified coach.
Yeah.
I was very curious as to how to talk about the game instead of just doing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Gordon Lord, who I believe you know as well, and he helped me through my kind of coaching journey. And my first coaching gig was a self-employed gig, which is what I'm doing now. It's gone right full circle.
Yeah.
In primary schools, which I really enjoyed. That was a great introduction. And then over the last 25 years, I've gone from primary schools up to pro level and World Cup finals and things like that. So I've had a few experiences that have laid the foundations of who I am now currently.
Yeah. Nice. Who did you play for as a pro?
I played in Gloucestershire.
Yeah.
I was born and bred in Somerset and supported Somerset through the 80s.
Yeah.
Really want to play for Somerset, but they was very strong. But Gloucestershire came in and gave me some opportunities, which I took. And so two really good years at Gloucestershire. Met some amazing people.
Yeah.
Played with some amazing cricketers as well. But Gloucestershire, and I hold them very dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm. And obviously you mentioned it was kind of down to you that it stopped. What do you think, if you could turn back time now, what would you do differently to give you more chance, and why did it go that way?
I talk about this very openly with players that I coach, especially those that have ambitions to kind of progress. Consider myself in a very positive way to be a failed cricketer, in that highly talented, but relied on my talent alone without having the work ethic, without having the experiences of failing, getting up, doing things differently again. So so I was 20 and 21 when I was a pro cricketer. But even leading into all of that age, didn't surround myself with people that stretched me, challenged me. Didn't seek coaching. Didn't seek questions to people that I perceived were better cricketers than me.
Yeah.
Didn't look after my nutrition. To this day, I think back now, and I don't think I entered a gym when I was a pro cricketer. I mean, it's abysmal when I think back at it now.
Yeah.
But all of those experiences really are at the core of my coaching philosophy. I observing a lot and looking for opportunities to help people not make the same mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
Because they're the same mistakes I see now, like 30 odd years later. But yeah, those are the main reasons why. It wasn't because of talent. It was laziness, poor decisions, and they are my decision, my choices more than anyone else.
Yeah. And I know you're very big on habits with the guys that we kind of coach between. Do you think your as, let's say, from 15 through till 20 before you were actually pro was the issue, or was it more when you were a pro? As in, do you think that actually the lead up to being pro was the downfall, or was it how you were when you were a pro? Does that make sense?
It was the foundations that were not in place.
Yeah.
The game was very different back then. We had a head coach. It was Eddie Barler, who's no longer with us, bless him. Springbok, and played cricket with South Africa as well. Tough guy.
Yeah.
Used to turn up at training sessions in full white suit.
Yeah.
Amazing. But the habits weren't there, and I honestly believe habits start when players are younger.
Yeah.
And this is where so what are they doing? Are they playing with sports and things?
Yeah.
But for me personally, I was a multi-sportsman. I played football, rugby, and so movement and coordination and things weren't an issue. It was simply because I believed people when they said I was going to play for England.
Yeah.
And I was going to keep progressing, or you're guaranteed to do this. So I'm thinking, well, this is easy because all I'm doing is playing the game.
Yeah.
And steering clear of failing.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have that experience of. So I think that it was all about the foundation where they just were not in place. And if they were, those, when I was playing first class cricket, nervous as hell, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have the tools to get all those butterflies in my stomach flying the same direction. They were going all over the place because I simply didn't have the conversations and the skill to understand what was going on and then know what to do about it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So my advice is habits form early.
Yeah.
Far longer before the experience you're in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also important, like you mentioned, obviously the parents, and I think as coaches, we are, you have to with it. But I think actually those habits, like you say, playing multi-sport is work out how you can have those habits in a way where you can stick to them consistently, which isn't going to be crazy disciplined.
Yeah.
Like you are in military.
Yeah.
But it's also not going to be right at the bottom, and it's trying to find that kind of sweet spot for the individual as well. And I think it is something where it has got to be highly individual, but also if you're not having those conversations and you're not even considering what you could be doing better, you're struggling, aren't you?
Well, the game is there to be had fun with.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've worked with and alongside coaches that are hugely disciplined, and that's their style, and that's okay. But when you're dealing with people, finding ways that really connects with them and resonate with them.
Yeah.
So I think that, what are we talking about? We're talking about a habit of Mhm. Getting up 5 minutes earlier and just doing some sit-ups or some press, just moving sort of thing. Those are the creation of habits that you can expand, and what you learn a little bit more about are the really simple things that you can incorporate and tweak and change. You've already got into that kind of system. So we're not talking about, massive things. We're talking about, proper, really simple, old school kind of things. That's all we are. We talk about the basics a lot, don't we? Really, but
it doesn't need to be uber complicated. Right, we haven't actually got into any of the questions we had planned, so let's have a look and go through one of them. So we've touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about amateur bowlers, who obviously we work with plenty of. Other than habits, what do you think, and potentially that could be the answer that you come back to, but what are the biggest things that you find amateur quick bowlers have holding them back from, one, bowling faster, two, bowling better, which I think we've also spoken about, kind of gets pushed under the rug for just bowl quick, bowl quick, bowl quick. And then also obviously stay at a pitch consistently.
So I believe that there is a massive pool of high quality amateur bowlers out there. I've seen it for myself. I've heard it. I used to keep receiving names and recommendations for people that these bowlers are out there. And then the question that I always ask myself is, why aren't there more kind of coming through? And kind of digging in a little bit deeper myself, I believe that the difference between a bowler that goes through that club amateur kind of system and out the other side and to become a pro, they don't necessarily have to be in a county pathway. I don't believe that. What I do believe is if they at some point realize, I really want to make a go of this, and they go all in on it, then you win games for your team as a bowler. You win games for your teams on Saturdays. You train on a Thursday, maybe on a Tuesday as well. But when you make the step up, I think it would look like at the next level. Let's take second team cricket. 4-day matches. You could be in the field for 4 sessions. Okay, what does that look like? Well, that's 8 hours on your feet. Club cricket isn't going to give you that. It might give you 3 hours on your sleep on your feet in a 50 over game. So I think one of the things that are holding people back, they think they're good and they are good, but is what they're currently doing going to allow them to be good at the next level? And they don't go into it. They don't dive into what that is. The number of overs that have to bowl in a day, how they might have to recover, what they might need to, how the diet might need to change, be tweaked a little bit. But out of everything, I know it's another question. I just don't think that amateur bowlers, in general, not all of them, but in general, they just think it's a really easy kind of step up. And skill-wise, it may be, but physically, it's not. It's a completely different thing. And the bowlers that are clued up on that, they do their work and they start training for that before they get given that opportunity.
And I think it's very easy in club cricket to become comfortable at that level and know you can turn up and you can do a job and you can get through it and get through the season just about. You'll have niggles here and there, but you're not going to get fully injured, so it's okay. You can go and do the same again next year. But I think for those cricketers who either want to be the best of the best in the league or do want to take that step to the next level, it's about taking themselves out of that comfort zone and like you say, figuring out what to go to the next level they need to do and start building that ideally out before they obviously go into winter nets again. Cool. Was that the point?
So we're working with senior cricketers. Like Sam. He's getting up early and running. What is he, a 15-year-old? 14, 15-year-old. So he's working out his own way. I get it right all the time. He's working out how can he be different, and I think that's the thing. You need to be different than all the others, because as soon as you're seen out running on the pavements when everyone else is going out partying or whatever,
Yeah.
a lot of your friends will pull you back. What the hell are you doing? Come on, come out, that sort of thing. They'll pull you back into their group. But if you really want it and you go all in on it, you have to find ways of being different, and that's something that Sam is at the moment anyway fully committed to doing. And it's lovely to see.
And I think on that point as well, like the big pushback I get from the fitness side is often people say they haven't got the time. And I understand people are busy, but I think realistically 2 to 3 hours a week is what you need to find. And can that be waking up half an hour earlier? Can that be half an hour less scrolling? Which I think probably we're all guilty of that. And if you really wanted to, you probably could find those extra few hours. We're not asking you to find a full 8 to 10 hours in a day, or per week, sorry. But probably if you need to find those little slots, you probably could.
If most people take an audit of what they do in a day and look at it across a whole week, it's easy to find those little slots. Stretch in front of the TV, if that's what you know, stuff, you could do it easily if you really wanted to.
So one thing which you mentioned there about workload and others, I think let's come on to a little part on that where we'll dive into stress fractures. I think it's a big topic, which I think it's an interesting topic because I think everyone has heard of a stress fracture. Most people have a rough idea as to what it is, but I think actually the knowledge around it probably isn't what it should be from my side. And I think what I always push people to is the research guys at Loughborough as part of the ECB have done loads and loads of work on this. And there is an awesome YouTube video that is on Stuart Naylor's YouTube channel. And it is Paul Felton.
Yeah.
Breaking it down. I don't actually think it is. It's Alway.
Pete Alway.
Yeah, Pete Alway breaks it down. And he talks through all the research behind it. It's about 45 minutes long, but it's brilliant. Essentially, as a quick rundown, if you don't want to watch that video now, stress fracture in a fast bowler will normally occur in the side opposite to the bowling arm. And it will be an L4 and L5, which is around here in the lower back. And essentially, it's a little minute crack in the bone, which happen also the tiny cracks happen all the time. The issue is when we're bowling, we don't allow that crack to repair and recover. And then over time, that crack gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it causes more of a problem. And that is the very simplistic explanation of what a stress fracture is and why it causes problems. What we can go into perhaps in the next video is the technical risk factors of of a stress fracture. One of which is collapsing a back foot contact. The other is a load of lateral flexion and lumbar extension. So we'll talk about that in the next video when we get into the nets. But the main risk factor of a stress fracture is a spike in your bowling workload. And I think it's always important with spikes in your bowling workload to understand, yes, that is if it goes massively up, but also when it goes massively down, you're then probably, unless you gradually build it up again, you're at risk of kind of causing that spike for yourself. And I think that's what a lot of club cricketers get wrong, is they'll stop bowling in September, they'll have 3-4 months off, and then they go straight back into winter nets and they probably bowl 60 to 100 balls in week one, potentially at full gas as well, which is an issue. And I think the final point on that is the really dangerous thing about stress fractures is they're a bit of a silent threat in the fact of, from the point of where the spike in workload is, you won't actually get the symptoms until 3 to 6 weeks later, I believe it is. And in that time, you could carry on bowling pain-free, be absolutely fine. And then 1 week, your back's in an issue. And normally, if you then think about how seasons happen, is you have that spike in your workload at the beginning of pre-season in Jan or Feb. You then get to March and April, and then suddenly you've got a back issue, and then the only thing you can do is rest, and then you're missing the first few months or even the whole season. As a very whistle-stop tour of a stress fracture. And then to get on to my question for you is, I know from the players we work with that you obviously educate them about workload. How do you monitor workload? How do you suggest they monitor it? Workload as an overall topic. What are your opinions? And how do you go about it?
Well, my view is if a bowler's not bowling, they're not improving. That's the first thing. So we need to keep them bowling within their sweet spot.
Yeah.
And you alluded to it there. There is a sweet spot. If you go above it, they might not get injured. And I like to approach this with any bowler as though they are not going to get injured.
Yeah.
There's an awareness, obviously, from a coaching side of things. But I personally don't like talking about injuries and stress fractures and likelihood of being injured. And I've heard it before. No, why do you want to bowl fast? You're going to get injured. No, we cannot do that because it's one of the most exciting things that any one person can do.
Yeah.
And they win matches for their teams. But so how do I monitor it? So the players that I'm working with online, they have a spreadsheet. They basically fill it in, and I have a look at it on a weekly basis, and I see, are they consistently bowling on a weekly basis a similar amount that they were bowling like the previous week. I like to work back from the start of the season, and if they're playing 1 day matches, then the club cricketer, for instance, 10 overs on a Saturday.
Yeah.
They probably need to be bowling 20 to 24 overs in the week.
Yeah.
In order to be primed, hot, ready to fire on that Saturday. So what does that look like? Well, you're probably looking at 10 to 12 overs during the week as well. We're talking about high intensity. So that's training on a Thursday. You might bowl 6 overs, and then you need to bowl 4 to 6 overs somewhere like during the week.
Yeah.
As well. Not including. It's more about me monitoring than me educating them at this point.
Yeah.
But if there does become a bit of an issue, then there's a conversation with the player and their parents, really, if it's a young player.
Yeah.
So there is a sweet spot, and it does take time. So at the moment, I'm going through a stage where I'm piecing together session plans where it's a great time of year here in the UK to groove and change technique. So there's some drills. I do lower the intensity. I know it's not for every coach out there, but I do lower the intensity because I think it's important that players need to feel slightly different positions and movement patterns.
Yeah.
And the way to do that, I believe, is lower the intensity and then you ramp it up. You see little micro changes over time. But I always ask them, even in this time of year, to bowl 12 balls, high intensity.
Yeah.
Because we need bodies to become resilient and solid to for bowling. Pete Orley would have said, look, bones actually like stress.
Yeah.
Because they adapt as long as you give them enough time to adapt and grow and become stronger over time. This is where your point about club cricketers not bowling from September through to March and then a massive spike.
Yeah.
Their bones are soft, their muscles are soft, their ligaments and tendons, they're all soft because they haven't made them resilient because they haven't bowled.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I keep on top of things. And that's a real kind of the high level insight as to bowl. You can bowl high intensity even this time of year, as long as it's just 12 balls. Shock your body into it. You will get stiff. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few points there. I think first of all, it's understanding that actually you don't need to be scared of bowling. And yes, bowling is an unnatural thing for the human body to do. But within, as long as you're not bowling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of overs, as some commentators and coaches will say, you need to bowl you into the ground like we did back in our day, kind of thing. And I think that is bad advice, of just bowl loads and loads to get bowling fit. But also, we don't want to be at the other end of the spectrum where you're not bowling at all because you're scared of bowling, which I think there's so many guidelines out there which are all there for the right reasons. But I think actually if you read them, they all make perfect sense. But I think as soon as, especially parents, hear the word guidelines, to them that is something's dangerous. We shouldn't do it. Those guidelines are in there for a reason, because that's what the research shows is safe to do. And we're coming back to your point on bones like stress. So the really cool thing in that video I mentioned and the research is there is a site-specific adaptation on the side opposite to the bowling arm in the lumbar spine. So if you imagine if I'm a right arm bowler, this is my right side and this is my left side. So actually L4 and L5, the bone mineral density, which is why we drink milk to make bones strong, and have calcium. So the bone mineral density on that side, opposite to the bowling arm, during the season is actually stronger, or it's higher bone mineral density. When someone gets injured and they stop bowling, that actually reduces the bone mineral density, which then, and that's the issue, is then you go back to bowling at the same speed and that bone is weaker, and then the chance of that injury happening again is higher. And I think that's why you also see a lot of reoccurring stress fractures when that return to bowling and then return to play is managed not properly. And I think it's also then just making sure that in that situation, if you have got coaches, if you have got S&C coaches, if you have got parents, if you have got captains, and then yourself as well, kind of included in that, the bowler has to be at the center of that conversation. They have to take that responsibility and manage it themselves. Make sure the coaches are aware, make sure S&C coaches are aware, physios, whatever. And like I say, really take that responsibility for how you're going to manage that return.
There's a couple of things. One is I like looking at bowling days as opposed to number of overs.
Yeah.
The amount of pro cricketers, how many am I bowling today? How many am I bowling today? I think we're not where we need to be in terms of our skill and our consistency and your positions in over number 7 than you are in over number 2. So actually, we're going to extend that. You're going to just keep bowling. Today's a bowling day.
Yeah.
So I like bowling days, and obviously in the background, I've got an eye on how many they are bowling. But it's almost like I want to shake up the perception of a bowler of that they are limited.
Yeah,
because if they're not bowling, they're not improving. There obviously is it's a sweet spot. The other thing around training is spikes.
Yeah,
is this conveyor belt of fast bowlers gets on my wick. I just think that for the majority, and there are challenges around it, of course there are, it can be too easy an option just to set up a net.
Yeah.
Where there's a bunch of batters and there's bowlers who're just going to bowl tonight, and there's like 6 or 7 in the net, and they bowl and they wait their turn. I think we need to come away from that.
Yeah.
So the opportunity is, what happens in a game. Like you can bowl with a bowling partner. You bowl 6 each as a pair. Then you have 3-4 minutes off while somebody else is in there. So the batters still get their volume of. But I just think that we need to be. What happens in a game? What could that look like at training? And I understand the challenges around it. Size of groups, facilities, all this kind of stuff. I really do. But if we know that a massive spike is a cause, which we know that's true, how do we mitigate that? How do we keep them bowling, but still give them an opportunity to recover, like in between? And the only other point I want to make, Sam, is the 37 to 41 overs a week, which is what lots of S&Cs work on. I think it's outdated, because that was a piece of research put together years ago, before the landscape of cricket has changed. The game hasn't changed, the skill, well, a few bits have, but there's more cricket being played now. And so the 37 to 41, I constantly go back and say, well, I need them to bowl more. We're not bowling very well. They have to bowl today. So I then go to S&C coaches and say, I need your help. I need your help, because this guy needs to bowl 60 overs. That's cool. 60 overs this week. But, with youngsters. And then it's what they do for 2 or 3 weeks afterwards. But I do think the limitation of overs, I think, is hurting bowlers. And that's a conversation itself. And that's, I spoke with Pete Orway about that. And he agrees, so it's different now.
And it's such a tough thing, because it is trying to find that sweet spot. And I think that's also the thing. Like, we can have all these, the stats, and how many overs, how many balls, and how many days in a week you should be bowling, how many days between bowling you should have, and whatever it is, and what all the research that there is. But it's going to be individual as well. And I think it's understanding those circumstances. Like, you could have, let's say, in a prem side at a club, you could have a young quit who's on an academy somewhere, who's also playing at school, and he needs to play 4 or 5 times a week. Plus he's then got training, plus he's then maybe got one-to-ones, and it's like, whoa, how do you monitor that? You then got the old school bowler who's rocking up and just playing Saturdays, who's probably then under bowling. And then you've got the science bro in the middle who's trying to work out how he can fit in. And it's tough. And I think it's working out what works for you. And I think that's what I always come back to, is what is the big risk, having a big spike. What can you do to monitor that yourself? Have that as your responsibility, and make sure that whatever your sweet spot is, you're there and you're sticking within it. I'm just going to check this is still recording. I have a nightmare when it stops halfway through. Cool, we're still rolling. Lovely.
Good news.
Success.
Workload is an interesting one, because workloads is an important aspect, but it's only it's one aspect. You have a look at what else could be a possible cause. We had one at Warwickshire last year. It wasn't workloads, because we were keeping on top of it. Technique, roles changing. All of a sudden, bowling more death overs, release points can become lower or higher, so positions can change. Recovery, nutrition, sleep. There are so many possible causes. But workloads is one of those kind of simple ones. We can just write down a number. And then leave it to kind of S&Cs or bowling coaches to kind of work at it, really.
And I think coming on to that, like, it's a nice transition to go into probably the technical factors. And I think, as we've kind of mentioned already, like, fast bowling is a bit of an ugly thing for the body to have to do. Like, we have to keep our arms straight, and therefore we have to get into this weird position for our butt. And I think if like, you can monitor your workload as well as anybody and do it perfectly, but if you've got a disgusting action where you're in a really horrible position, like, you're gonna potentially get injured. And I think but also then comes back to the other side. If you're building strength in those positions, then great. But I think physically, what do you see letting down the majority of bowlers that you work with? What are kind of the reoccurring things that you come back to from a physical point of view?
So my role has changed recently. So I'm doing more and more work with younger bowlers. But even then, whilst every bowler is different with now, and also that is in line with the pro cricketers that I was coaching until this past summer, spent on actions in the crease, but that is influenced massively by how a bowler enters the crease.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, alignment, running technique, and their posture at back foot contact, which is in line with the Pete Orway research, latest research. But it kind of, there are many cricketers I'm with now that don't play winter sports, and you could tell.
Yeah,
you can tell.
Yeah.
Like they're a bit shuffly in the run up. Their movements, they're less coordinated than others who are playing multi sports and things. But definitely alignment. What direction they're actually moving towards, and if any changes direction is a massive red flag, and I see it all the time. Their running technique, elbows going out here, which destabilizes hips and pelvis, which we then know through the research has a big influence. So I'm on a bit of a quest at the moment, really spending a lot of time. I don't even know what the parents think of me because they're paying me money, and I'm just working on running techniques. Getting the hurdles out, but I don't always have the hurdles up. I often lay them down. As a visual to get a knee lift, to get the foot striking underneath, as opposed to jumping up and down. I don't want that. But it's definitely running technique, the run up alignment, and how they enter the crease as well. And undoubtedly, those are the common things that I'm seeing.
I think they're probably echoing that in terms of kind of running mechanics, we do a lot of it, and it seems boring to start with, but I think it's a lot of isometric holds, a lot of just a drive positions. But once you're similar to kind of what you mentioned earlier about slowing down the bowling action, like if you slow down the running technique, and then when you then want to increase the intensity, your body knows the positions that it wants to get into. On alignment, this is a good question, which I'm mainly just asking for my own interest. Why does, and I'm assuming when you're talking about your alignment, kind of feet crossing over?
They can be, and also there was a bowler I was working with recently that literally running in towards second slip. And then you mentioned it just then, like the body and the mind is brilliant. It knows you want to hit the stumps.
Self-organized.
If you're running in that direction, it will fall over there to get on the inside of the ball, to get back there. And it's a bit of a train crash of an action. So that's what I mean by alignment. Running technique, sweeping underneath you that way is also a bit of an issue, because actually you're changing direction every time your foot hits the floor, sort of thing. But so running, I've got a vision of future fast bowlers all having an element of running style, checklist within the way that they prep. We're talking about simple stuff. 2 or 3 drills every time you train. And you wouldn't know, we'll have a look at some of them a bit later on, but definitely running style. I use string a lot. I use anything that's kind of visual. I do use poles as well. Sometimes all the toys are out. But one of the things, if I get the string out and I pull it back from right-handed off stump, I like putting it back through a mid-crease position and then extend it out, because I just think mid-crease is a great starting point for a bowler, because then you can create an angle on the inside closer to the stumps, and then you can create a wider angle as well. The cue isn't to run on the string. It's not a tightrope. You run over the string, and a nice cue that I start with is get your belly button moving along the string. Just towards the target, just straighten you up, sort of thing. But that's what I mean by alignment.
Got it. Back for contact landing positions. I've got my thoughts on this. Obviously, we've got square, kind of 45 degrees straight on. What are your opinions on it? What do you like to see? How have you coached people in the past with differing positions?
So I generally, if I'm working with somebody for the first time, but it's going to be on an ongoing basis, I generally like to leave the feet alone, because I honestly think that the way that we are built, feet land where they want to land. We decide what direction we're going to run in as a bowler. But if somebody walks on and I have a look at them walking, and if they're tempted to, generally that could mean that they're going to be opening up maybe to a side-on back foot contact position.
Yeah.
But if they've got pigeon toes on the inside, actually that could also mean that they're not going to get into side on, but they could be midway or front on. But as a bit of a process, I definitely start by looking at the feet, because I think bowling starts from ground up. But I kind of think, okay, is that consistent? So if they're landing midway, for instance, is it consistent? And if it is, then I start working up, where's the hip at back foot contact?
Yeah.
Is it over their foot, or is it behind, or sometimes in front where the energy is going down?
Yeah.
But I tend to, rightly or wrongly, allow the feet to do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
With how the person is built. The only thing I did there's a Substack call actually recently about back foot contact positions and the timing of load ups depending on side on, midway, or front on. Side on bowlers generally need to load up slightly earlier because they need to create a little bit more time to rotate around. Midway bowlers slightly later start of their load up because they don't need to rotate quite so much, and front on bowlers can load up as late as possible because they generally just skip through the crease, don't they? I generally, does it look natural? Is it consistent? And if it is, how can I ensure that the rest of their positions and their movements are working with where their feet want to land and in this way?
Yeah. Good answer. Yeah, I think my opinion on it is similar in that it's once again individual. And I think for whatever reason in the fast bowling world, people, and I'm kind of coming back to more social media and then the questions I seem to get a lot of, I think people want one answer and they want what is right and how do you do it. And I think it's understanding, and you only have to look at the best bowlers of all time and see there's many different ways to do it. And I think it's understanding what works for you, understanding why you're getting into those positions. And then, for example, let's say from an S&C point of view, it's then understanding, is there any physical limitations in your particular action that are letting you down? For example, if you are square at back foot contact, are you able to rotate through your hips? If you're not, that's probably an area we want to improve. I think we've got quite a nice example from one of the players that we work with, where actually we've realised that there is a sticking block in somewhere in kinetic chain without understanding that physical limitation. Or once you understand physical limitation, the action makes a lot more sense. And it's just trying to emphasize the point that there is no one way to do fast bowling. there's many ways to do it and do it very, very well.
And this is why it's really important that coaches aren't stuck in their beliefs around future fast bowlers are all going to be side on, for an example. Because some people just can't do it. And so therefore you're trying to force bowlers into positions they physically can't get in. That's gonna do them more harm than good. And so we only got to that point to understand that by profiling and working out. And then I think it's really important. I'm no S&C coach, but I know enough about it. But I'm not an expert, which is why I lean on people like yourself to do with your thing and then provide me with what they're good at, where the limitations, and then we discuss what that might look like in terms of what I'm seeing in their actions.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for ways, what they're good at, what can they do, and let's work with that, and what they can be working on just in the background to keep kind of layering on top what they're good at already.
Yeah. Nice. Couple more questions, and I think we'll probably wrap it up. Similar theme, but I know it's one that probably behind the camera you're screaming for me to ask. Brace front leg. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it what are the benefits of it? Why can't people do it? I'm asking you the questions, even though I have my opinions, but I want to hear your opinions on it as the coach, and then I'll chime in as a S&C coach, and we can form a bit of a mutual opinion.
Disagreeing is okay.
Yeah.
Okay, brace front leg is clearly desirable.
Yeah.
If you want to bowl quick. However, there's been some bloody quick bowlers that don't have a brace front leg. So, whilst it's desirable,
and before we move on from that, why is it desirable?
Because then the energy and the forces you are creating fires straight back up through the front, back through the joints and back up through the body, as long as their positions are able to use the forces they've generated. And actually, brace front leg is often associated with a longer delivery stride, which is actually safer because you flatten out the force. If you've got a short delivery stride and a brace front leg, but creating the same amount of force, you've got more vertical force, whereas a long delivery stride, it's the same amount of force flattens it out because it's a fraction more time. So brace front leg, we know it's one of the 4 or 5 used for fast bowlers. We know that. Rabada, Stark, they're pretty quick. They haven't got a brace front leg either. So I get all these messages through on social media. How do I get a brace front leg? How do I get a brace front leg? Well, you might not need one.
Yeah.
And by the way, how old are you?
Yeah.
Because if you're young, it's so much easier to kind of change a technique than it is when you get older. I've got 16 years of age in my mind. As to from 16 onwards, it's going to be more challenging for a complete revamp of technique. Not impossible, but it's just going to take more time. So therefore, what we do in below, we might want to show 8 to 10-year-olds a bunch of videos of a bowler with a braced front leg and say, right, just copy that. So we know it's one of the desirable attributes. What are the other questions? How do you get it?
Yeah.
Okay. We also know that a longer delivery stride is helpful to get over a braced front leg. How do you get that? We run in a bit quicker. That would help. But then the other thing that goes with that is a back foot that for a fraction of a second when you land on it absorbs but doesn't sink. Absorbs but then is able to fire you into front foot contact to extend it out that way. Like I say, all of these things, I wouldn't talk to a player like this, but I would do drills to try and really extend them. Can you run in quicker? You do that just by extending the distance between the hurdles or cones, whatever it is you get them to run over. That's the way you get them running quicker naturally without you even saying. But then can you stay upright, kick into front foot contact? So, brace front leg seems to be maybe it's not, but it seems to be a real thing at the moment. But it's not the only thing. If Rabada and Stark can still bowl 90 miles an hour because their bent knee angle doesn't change when they're pulling over their front leg. And so in my simple kind of world, a knee angle that doesn't change is the same as a braced front leg in my simple world. So there's ways of getting around it if you haven't got somebody that can do it. So that's my kind of...
And I think it kind of comes back to the point we've probably made 3 times now, which is find out your way. And I think it's, like we say, there's bowlers who can bowl very quick without it. If we are probably teaching an optimal bowling action to a 10-year-old, then we're going to try and probably install it. If it's completely not working, then that's fine. And I think from a physical standpoint, it's like you have these miracle transformations of bowling actions, which can happen if, and from, this is more talking about adults who are, say, older than 16 and in that period where change is harder because you've got all that learning to almost undo of bowling action. But changes will happen in a bowling action if you do S&C, if one of the limiting factors in your bowling technique was strength, stability, or mobility.
Yeah.
If you've got really tight hammies, you can't straighten your leg when you're trying to just do it without any force.
Yeah.
Why are you going to be able to straighten it when you put in all that force through your front foot? Like, your body's not going to let you do it.
Yeah.
If you can't balance on one leg and your knees wobbling all over the place because it's not stable, your body's not going to let you lock it out. If you can improve that, you've got a better chance. If your quads and hammies and glutes are weak, your body once again isn't going to let you brace that front leg, and that's okay. But where you see those miracle transformations, which I think a lot of people want, is where you're perhaps not in the physical state that you could be. You then take yourself to be into that place, and then whilst working on the technical side as well, you will see change. But also, if you've been training well and you've already been working on it for years and years, and like ultimately that might just be your bowling action, and that might be okay. And there's going to be, rather than trying to make it completely different action, there's going to be 1% improvements across the board that you can make to improve yourself as a bowler. Nice.
It's an interesting one. It's interesting because it just keeps coming up.
Yeah.
So, but it's not the only thing. There are other ways, and the brace front leg is associated with pace.
Yeah.
Everyone's got an optimum pace based on where they currently at in terms of their physique, their flexibility, their strength, their power. But you can change an optimum pace by going to the gym, working to a program, doing your bowling drills. And I think there's a pace range.
Yeah.
That and the optimum pace, you could tweak it and change it. Just habits.
Yeah.
Working hard, whatever. But it's not the only thing. Pace is not the only thing. It's bloody important. We saw what happened in the first innings. England.
Yeah.
Rattling the Aussies massively. We can see what pace does. They struggled a little bit because they didn't have enough time off their feet. But pace is only one of four: pace, accuracy, lateral movement, and bounce.
Yeah.
So if the slower you are, you need to work out how to improve the other kind of performance pillars, if you like.
Yeah.
Whilst you're still working on your pace attributes. But yeah, brace front leg keeps coming up.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Let's do basically done that. Running for fast bowlers? As in, do you like bowlers going out on a 5K, a 10K? Does it need to be longer? Sprinting, interval, running wise?
I think it depends on their age.
Yeah.
If they're playing multi-sports, they're probably running enough.
Yeah.
Hockey, rugby, football, basketball, whatever. They're probably getting enough running in there. But the game is running. The game of cricket is running and standing on your feet. The game of cricket is running at different speeds. Sometimes it's walking, sometimes it's sprinting after the ball to the boundary.
Yeah.
So anybody that is not playing winter sports, they absolutely have to run. It's a kind of, I see it as a foundation.
Yeah.
Really. If you play a 50 over game, you're on your feet 3.5 hours. Anywhere between 8 and 13, 14 kilometers in distance, you're going to be running at various speeds.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that on a Saturday, how do you condition yourself to still feel fairly fresh in your third spell when you've been on your feet for 2 3/4 hours.
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to help.
You get you running. So, I think time of year, you would know better than me, but time of year, you're looking at the foundation, building the foundations by, zone 2, 10K runs, maybe even like just plod. And then the bowling is power, and it's sprinting. And at some point, you kind of, I'd like the thought of all future fast bowlers training like a sprinter.
Yeah.
So it's a real mix in there, but the game is running. If you're not running, you're asking for trouble, really.
Agreed. And I think coming on to sprinting, man, I think that's probably the most underused training technique period for cricketers and for fast bowlers, especially because, like, how often do people just go and sprint as fast as they can, and then you're expecting your sprint speed and your bowling speed to increase? And it's take bowling out of it. It's one of the best explosive movements you can do, because you're having maximal intent from your brain talking to your body saying, I need to move as quickly as I can. Like, you've got a high rate of force development. So sprinting should be done weekly, but then especially for bowlers, kind of improving their run up speed. And I think probably I always explain running as, we want to tick off 3 different areas. So you've got kind of your steady state, boring cardio, which everyone thinks it is, which is important, 100%. You've then got your sprinting, which is also very important. And in the middle, you've got your kind of interval training, your stuff where you're going to be sweating, you're going to be breathing hard, you're going to be breathing heavy. And those sessions are the ones which, when you're doing them, you hate. And then after, you feel really good. But that is what's going to allow you to maintain your energy and speed through your spell, and then also come back for that second spell and still have something in the tank.
Yeah. So run up speeds on average anywhere between 20, 24, 25 kilometers an hour across a 20-meter distance.
Yeah.
So if you know that, you can kind of train for that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a nice little treadmill session, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do that, you run back, you might walk back to your mark. What will that take? 15 seconds or something. You do it again. You just keep doing it for like 60 reps, 10 over spell.
Yeah.
And how specific is that?
Yeah.
The sprinting thing. There is a lot of sprinting that takes place in first class cricket. It's associated with hamstring health.
Yeah.
But I do honestly believe that training like sprinters in the gym, as well as just sprinting, is definitely the way forward.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of my questions, which we'd skipped over, but what the big differences between pro cricket and amateur cricket is, sprinting is probably one of those areas that gets missed. What about strength training?
Yeah.
In season, off season, what do you like to see from your bowlers?
I like to see them in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. So amateur bowlers, get in there at least once a week in season. I always think, if you go to the gym and you get stiff, you're not in the gym as often as you need to be. And I'm not necessarily talking about big, heavy weights, but I'm talking about maintenance. And you would know more than me about how to maintain. In the winter, it's different. I would be in there every day doing something.
Yeah.
As an amateur, so I would say strength once a week during the season. As an amateur, find ways of going in there at least twice a week to increase and log it. Push, pull, lunge, squat, core flexibility. What are the exercises within that? You can help people with that. They get in contact with you for sure. You log your weights, you log your reps, keep a track of your techniques, and you see improvement. And then whatever you end up, like, you're trying to minimize the drop off during the season, which was a classic when I was playing.
Yeah.
Like, you weigh someone at the start of the season, weigh somebody at the end of the season. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But again, holding consistent technical positions at the crease relies on a number of things. One of them is strength. Can you hold that position in August as well as you did in April and May?
Mhm.
And you do that not just by bowling and doing nothing. That's not going to give you the best chance of doing that. You do it by maintaining strength. Your muscles will hold you up. And your action will thank you for it.
I think that's maintenance is the word. And very simply, our goal over a 12-month period, S&C wise, is strength. Build your strength first from October through to December. If you're not starting until January, that's fine. We can do it a little quicker if needed. But strength, then you build your power in your pre-season from January through to March. And then the goal during the season is maintenance. That doesn't mean not doing anything. That means dropping the volume, maintaining the intensity. So actually, if you have been lifting heavy during the off season, you can carry on lifting season, but it's just going to be lower volume. And perhaps nice and heavy, 3 to 5 reps, but really rip it up. Focus on that speed. And those sessions, you walk out of the gym during the season and you feel like you probably haven't done loads, but you turn up on a Saturday and you're fresh. And you're still fresh in August, September, whereas everyone else is flagging by June, July. And I think that is the big misconception and big problem which I'm on a crusade to stop each season is people not training through April to June and then coming to me and saying in July, "Hi Sam, I'm injured. What can we do now?" And it's, yes, we can start. Would have been helpful if we didn't completely stop.
Why would you put yourself at risk?
I know.
Everyone's got a point where their skills start breaking down. What you're trying to do is extend that point, aren't you? And fitness and strength and nutrition and everything else. That's how you do it. But if you're doing something in the winter,
It's work.
why would you bloody stop? It might look different, but why would you stop? I don't get it.
No. Cool. I haven't got any other question other than just letting you say, obviously, if people do want to find you online, what can you offer? Where can they find you?
Well, I'm sharing a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm working with cricketers from around the world on an online basis. They can find me Stuart Barnes Cricket. I'm on Instagram. I don't even remember what my handle is.
I'll drop it in the description below.
I'm also doing a lot of weekly live calls on Substack, which is a bunch of people have been with us here this morning. So once-to-ones, I'm on a bit of a mission to get some more patients out there in the world. So in order for somebody to become their best, it takes time. So I'm delivering at the moment a bunch of messages around taking the long-term approach from like literally 10 years old. What does fast bowling look like? 10 to 12, all the way through up to a kind of 18, which is like graduating through things. But I'm on Instagram, Substack, YouTube, the usual kind of places where people can find me. And then they can find out how I might be able to help them through my website.
Perfect. Cool. Just reading my notes. Lovely. Thank you very much for watching. I know I've kind of learned bits and pieces there, which is always really cool from these conversations. For any fast bowlers watching part 2 of this video.
Can't wait.
Get moving, work through a bit of those things which we've obviously mentioned there, back foot contact, run up, in front leg, how we can go about those kind of things and what we can work on. That'll probably come out next week or the week after. So make sure you subscribe. And look forward to helping you again soon. Thank you very much, Stuart.
That's been brilliant.
And we'll wrap it up there.
Always enjoy it. Cheers.
Lovely. Cheers.
That. So that was unannounced, impromptu.
1 hour.
with CricFit. Cheers. John, you spending more time than me than your family at the moment. Right. Thanks for joining. That'll drop into your inboxes. Catch you later.